Hello, everybody, and welcome.
To the universe.
Everybody is here.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I would hope that everyone's here and everything.
All the stuff. It's all here. If it's not, call somebody.
We'll try and find it. Let us know. Put it in the comments. Tell us what we need to bring in.
Call the government?
I wouldn't. I don't think that the government would ever get back to you, and if they did, they'd probably arrest you for something.
I'm Samuel.
And I am Sam.
I wear glasses.
I do not wear glasses.
We're both Sam, though. Well, I guess I'm Samuel and you're Sam. We're not both Sam, technically.
I mean, you can call us both Sam. It probably won't. I mean, if you're trying to speak to one of us specifically,
it will make it more confusing for you. So just,
yes.
I'm Samuel, he's Sam.
Yes.
I wear glasses, he does not. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die.
He just can't be bothered. He doesn't have the time.
He really doesn't. But apparently, I mean, he's got some time to do 5 movies now. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, he had time
Daniel
to do
Craig?
like 5 movies and also to make this movie nearly 3 hours long.
It is long.
It is long. Immediate first impressions. Did you like this movie?
I did. I liked this movie. I thought it was good. I don't know that I will ever watch it again.
Yeah.
I feel no need to see it again, ever. But I wouldn't say it's not because it's not a good movie. You know?
Yes, I have a very similar feeling. I deeply loved this movie, but I do not know the next time I am going to sit down and watch this film.
Yes.
Some of that has to do with the length. Some of it has to do with just the sheer emotional impact of the film.
It is a very emotionally impactful film, especially if you cared about Daniel Craig's James Bond. You think you're going into it for one thing, and I feel like by the time you leave, you lost more than you thought you did.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Like, you're never going to see Daniel Craig in a Bond movie. Like, this is his last movie, you know? And even though you thought you were ready for Daniel Craig to be done as Bond, I feel like I wasn't.
There's a piece of me missing.
It's weird.
So, like we said, off the bat, this film does have a runtime of nearly 3 hours. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Here are some highlights for me. We can go super in-depth into it. I want to avoid spoilers as much as possible. Maybe we'll do a spoilery section.
We'll stick it here if we end up getting into spoilers, or maybe here. I don't know how you want to make it.
We'll put a timestamp, so you can stop watching. If you haven't seen the movie, just stop watching it whatever this time is. I'll edit the video and I'll put it in here. Anyway, the film opens with, frankly, one of the most intense scenes in any James Bond movie.
Yes.
Wow. I was immediately glued to the screen from the second the movie started, essentially. Yeah. No fanfare. The movie just kind of
that's
cuts,
true.
trees, guy walking with a gun.
Snow. A lot of snow.
Little French girl. You're like, whoa, this is really happening. And then the movie does not just stop happening for the next 2 hours and 45 minutes.
It's true. It gets the ball rolling, and it's going.
It never stops. I thought when I saw the runtime that I would be worried that I'm like, oh, this is going to drag. It's going to... No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
They pack so much content into this movie. And honestly, by the time you get to the end, you kind of forget the first half of the movie.
It almost feels like
place.
You've moved through almost like a mini-series by the time you're done. You're like, wow, okay.
One thing I will say, in terms of emotional impact, I was physically exhausted by the end of this film.
That's true.
I felt like I had ran a marathon, and I just sat in my seat and just watched a movie. But,
you had to take a moment to process everything that happened in this film.
Yeah. We saw it with our wives, and when we came out of the theater, I think all of us, we walked back to the car, and we were just like, I need several minutes to just think about this movie and just do nothing else.
I need to take this in. I need to process. I need to talk to somebody about it. It was pouring rain, so it was almost even more romantic in not the romance man and woman kind of romance, but romantic time.
Yeah, I was wow, I can reminisce. I can be all internal.
So
this film has as well some incredible action sequences.
It does.
And I think one thing I love about it, we talked about this in a previous thing where we were talking about how action sequences are kind of shot in movies. The pace of the action is very frantic and very
it's visceral.
It's very visceral. Yeah, some of the fight scenes and some of the gunplay and everything is very hard hitting, and they don't shy away from it. They will hold those shots and you watch most of those blows hit. You see the connection,
which is so important, I think, because we've gotten in a lot of ways gypped with a lot of action movies.
Absolutely.
Where from the Jason Bourne movies with their shaky cam to like where you just have too many cuts and it doesn't let you appreciate the actual action of the scene.
This lets you breathe and really, it makes the fight scenes legible. Like, it makes them cohesive. It definitely takes a lot of cues. I felt like a lot of the action takes a lot of cues from your John Wick type movies. We watched John Wick recently, so I'm kind of comparing everything to it. But like, and it's also like one of the gold standards for action movies.
And I think that in a lot of ways, starting with Bond in 2006, was that when it dropped? Casino Royale? It changed to a grittier sort of action similar to the John Wick type of stuff, but they really, in this movie, allowed with those scenes and the way that it was filmed.
And even the first one, Casino Royale, has one of the most like brutal, visceral moments.
Are you talking about the bathroom scene? I mean, we're not spoiling anything.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Casino Royale, like, it's been 15 years, so that's your problem. I was thinking of the torture scene.
Oh, at the very end?
Yeah. With Mads Mikkelsen, my heavens. That scene will scar you for life. So, I've always loved this iteration of Bond. It drops a little bit with Quantum of Solace for me, but like...
It's funny because it kind of does this mountains, because...
But one thing that does stay consistent, I think, is that Daniel Craig is great. He's great as Bond throughout all of them. He's definitely an older, more rugged Bond, but I think it works.
I mean, he is old in this movie. That's how I felt. Like, watching him,
Daniel's a little old.
You are an old man at this point. Yeah, I mean...
He's still hot.
I mean, he's more
built.
fit than me, better looking than me, so props to you for being old and having that. But it does feel like... That's one of my biggest frustrations with Quantum of Solace, is that it was just not a good movie, but he was still in his prime, that if they could have just had a better story... Because, I mean, from Skyfall on, like, he's old. Like, you know he is. Again, not as old as he is in this movie, but he's still older.
Yeah, a couple of things that surprised me about this film. I want to... Like I said, we don't want to explain the whole plot to you, and also it's 3 hours long, so I don't think I even could explain the whole plot to you in like under 15 minutes.
Yeah.
A couple of things that I thought were really surprising, not bad surprising, but just like really surprising. About the 5-year time jump. There's a 5-year time jump in this movie.
Yeah, I did not expect
in the film. Like, after this very important plot point thing happens, and then it cuts to black, and then it's like 5 years later, and you're like, oh.
I mean, it had to happen though.
It makes sense. Contextually, it makes sense. But I was surprised, because we had never really had... We've had maybe some small time jumps in Bond, but like, that's a very large
especially
time jump.
For a Bond that's already old at the end of Spectre, to have another 5-year time jump. It's like...
But it works. I think it works really well.
It did. It worked out.
I thought Ana de Armas in this movie was delightful. Her character was very unexpected, and I wanted more of her character.
That I had an issue with that. I was like, why did you... She was like such a small portion of this movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe she was supposed to be similar to like the Felix Leiter from the CIA, in that, where they have this quick relationship sort of part of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't really revisit her at any point, so I did think it was weird to introduce this completely new character in that way, and then just...
And they've mentioned, I think, Barbara Broccoli... Whoever it was, people asked her about a spinoff because they liked Ana de Armas' character so much, and Lashana Lynch is also incredible in this movie. Mm-hmm. She's super fun. They asked about spinoffs and stuff, and they've said basically, I don't think they're considering it. They've never really done anything like that, and so maybe we'll see.
Well,
but
I think,
like know.
We talked about, I mean, and changing gears a little bit here, there shouldn't be another James Bond for a long time, if ever, just because of the direction that we're going within media, and I just don't think that there's a place really for that kind of a character, at least not as a good guy nowadays.
I don't think... I agree. I said this when we were driving to the theater. Actually, here, we will say generally, we liked the film. It was very good. If you've been following Daniel Craig's Bond, it's a great ending to the story. The runtime is long, but I didn't feel like it felt that long.
Yeah.
So
you sit in that theater and the 2 hours and 45 minutes flies by.
So if you haven't seen it, go see it.
Go out and see it. I've seen some stuff that like it's not doing all that well right now, and I mean you can blame some of it on the pandemic, but this movie is definitely worth your time.
In the theater, it needs to be seen.
Yeah,
that way. I think it deserves.
Go out and support. Yeah, especially for being the last Daniel Craig Bond movie. But if it goes the way that we want it to, and being the last one for a while, it definitely deserves people going to see it if they've ever loved any Bond movies, or spy thrillers just in general.
Yeah. So that's our overall review, if you haven't seen it. Yeah. Now, if you have seen it, you already have your own opinions, but this is the spoiler warning, and here it is. When we were going to the theater, I said two things. At the end of this movie, James Bond needs to be dead.
Yeah.
And we need to not have another James Bond movie either ever or for a very long time.
Yeah.
My first wish was granted. Spoiler alert, he's dead.
Yeah.
He gets blown up, he's dead. But if you've already watched the movie, you already know that. And I was like, great. It made me cry because of, obviously the whole thing with his daughter and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
which
I was like,
again, when we entered this movie thinking this is going to be Daniel Craig's last movie anyways and wanting him to die, I didn't think I'd care that much that he died, but by introducing the element of him having a daughter and realizing there could be more to Bond than what was happening, and then he dies, you're like, wow, that has some weight.
Brutal, that has some weight. And they knew what they were doing when they did that.
Yep.
But I think this is the time where we can kind of talk about James Bond in general, because they've done a great job with Daniel Craig as James Bond of making him more politically correct, more palatable for our current climate. And you can say whatever you feel about that, but I think it's a good step. But I think James Bond's character has way too much history and way too much in its past that I'm like, it's time to let the James Bond character die. And I think a lot of the characters agree. Daniel Craig has said openly that he thinks, when they asked him if there should be a female James Bond, he said, no, let's just write better characters.
And that's an issue, I think, with just most content nowadays that comes out in any form or another, is there's this desire to reinvent what we already have. It's like we've lost the creativity to go out and create something new and something... Or even bringing characters that we've had for a long time in the way that Suicide Squad has, which I'm glad they've tried to do something, or even Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, here's these characters that we've already had. I mean, that could be it's a whole other thing, but I do think that we need to start creating some new content.
Some new characters. Yeah, James Bond's character has had a long history, and Daniel Craig is the best there's ever been with James Bond. And I think it's okay to let the character die with him.
Especially because
it doesn't mean there doesn't need to be another 007 or anything.
Yeah.
We can continue that, but I think James Bond himself...
The womanizing spy who does all of these things, like, his character's been allowed to be something more than what he's been historically in this movie alone,
Yeah.
And you can kind of say that with Casino Royale, like, where he really fell for someone... And I mean, it's affected him until this movie even, and he's finally picked someone that he's kind of wanted to be with. And that's just something different, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, and we introduced Lashana Lynch. She's delightful in this movie. She is given the 007 moniker.
Yeah.
I would love to see a movie with her.
Yeah.
But she's obviously not James Bond. And that's good. It's good that she's not James Bond.
We don't need to keep having James Bond.
Yeah,
and I mean,
I don't need a woman James Bond. I need a super cool, super well written woman spy character.
Whatever they want to do. Yeah.
I don't need it to be James, because also that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, you could kind of write.
Sure.
But it's too easy for women to seduce men. There is no... at least from what I know.
And knowing how our society views it, it wouldn't come across, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, but it would come across in a totally different way than it does, because James Bond's a man. He gets away with a lot.
Yeah.
If it was a woman doing it, it would not be seen in the same way. And it's we know that's true, and people would throw a fit about it. Yeah. And they should have been throwing a fit about James Bond for years. I'm glad that we changed him, and that he is gone, and that he's dead, and that Daniel Craig did such an amazing job and made me feel things for James Bond for basically the first time
ever. And I mean, it left a lasting impact, for this film. And this film, again, like we said, go out and see it if you haven't. It deserves your attention if you have any interest in action movies and spy thrillers and whatever you want to say. It's a good movie. It was fun to watch.
But to reboot it and to recast it so soon after such a hard-hitting, impactful sending out of Daniel Craig, I think would take away more than it would give.
Yeah.
So, overall, No Time to Die, great film. Should I even ask? Scale 0 to 10, I guess? We can do that. What do you think?
I mean, I'd easily give it an 8.
Yeah.
That would probably be the best place for me to put it, because I wouldn't say it's like the most amazing film I've ever seen. It still has a lot of tropes that are similar to just like films. Yeah. But I mean, I'd give it an 8, easy.
Yeah. I think I'll do a similar, probably 8.5. I don't remember what I rated it on Letterboxd. Yeah, my reviews aren't that interesting there. These are more interesting than anything I say on Letterboxd, but you can follow me there if you want. I'll put a link in the description. But I think I gave it about 4.5 stars or so. Yeah. So yeah, about an 8.5.
It's really good.
It's great.
It's
Go
fun.
see it.
It's worth watching.
Go support your local movie theaters.
Please, let's keep movies how they were. Let's keep them. Let's wear your mask, get vaccinated, do the thing so that you can go out and make it so you can
go see movies, because it's been awesome being back in that theater. It can't be replicated, man. Well, anyway, I've been Samuel.
And I have been Sam. I still will be Sam.
And I continue to be. And welcome to the universe. And bye.
Bye.